Fala galera, Vic na área, beleza? Hoje estou trazendo para vocês a entrevista que a Microsoft fez com a equipe da Working Title. Eu fiz uma tradução livre, então já desculpe de antemão, pode ser que contenha alguns erros na legenda. Eu achei essa entrevista bem legal, a gente conhece toda a equipe da Working Title e vê o quanto de esforço e dedicação eles estão colocando em cima desse projeto para trazer um conteúdo de graça para nós simuleiros. Eles estão atualizando aí, para quem não sabe, a versão Garmin 1000, 3000 e o Citation CJ4 Flight Simulator 2020. Se você chegou agora no meu canal, seja muito bem-vindo, eu sou o Vic, utilizo o Flight Simulator desde a versão 4.0. Se você gosta do conteúdo do Flight Simulator, não esquece de se inscrever no canal, ative o sininho de notificação também para ficar sabendo quando saem novos vídeos. E se você gostar desse vídeo, não esquece de dar o like e compartilhar com os amigos, que ajuda muito. Beleza? Eu vou ficando por aqui, acompanhe a entrevista e até a próxima. Valeu!
Yeah, so I first got involved in flight sim in the Flight Sim 4 days. I think that was back in the early 90s, I want to say. And
before all this, I was not very much into aviation at all. I basically knew nothing about it. But now over time, as I learned so much, it really grew onto me.
My first flight simulator experience was, I think, with FS5 back in the early 90s, right after release.
I remember even as far back as the early 90s in MS-DOS playing a bunch of Alex Attack Chopper and a few other similar things, but I really got into simulation hardcore about 15 years ago.
I started flight simming with Flight Simulator 2000 when I was 12 years old. I remember buying the game online and it took about a week to deliver, but in reality, as a kid, it felt like an eternity because I was so excited to play it.
My journey with aviation started sort of side by side with real flying and flight sim.
I mean, already as a kid, I cracked open so many toys because I just wanted to see what's inside and figure out how it works.
I remember it was getting delivered on a cold, rainy night. I ran downstairs, grabbed the game, ran right back up, and immediately installed it.
But the thing that struck me was the aircraft and scenery designer. And my brother and I, we would just spend hours and hours in this thing, trying to change the shape of the wing. What happens if we change the root or the chord or the dihedral?
I remember one day I was just watching a little Cessna fly across the sky, and as sometimes happens to me, I found myself wanting to know everything about it, from the physics of flight to the procedures involved.
And I learned so much from the other guys about navigation, procedures, the physics, and so much more.
Like, if we do a barrel roll, what happens if we've got the tail in a wacky position?
And went ahead and got my private license right on my 17th birthday. But all along was also enjoying that sort of quintessential Learjet out of Meigs Field experience with Flight Simulator.
I think for me, one of the most satisfying tests of skill in the sim is to take a cub, go somewhere with just a couple hundred feet of open space, drop full flaps, and try to make a perfect three-point landing at 35 knots.
In 96 or 97, I had the opportunity to fly a few friends back from college to Meigs Field in real life, and that was the first time I had flown in there other than in the sim.
This is going to be my third decade of flight simming, so it's just been such a cool learning experience all throughout, and there's always more to know. When you think you're done learning, you're never done. Just in real aviation and simulation, there's always something more.
My name is Sean.
I'm Chris Burnett.
I'm Matt Nishan.
I'm Dominic.
I'm Rob Jones.
And we are Working Title. The genesis of Working Title is an interesting story.
When I first started modifying the CJ4, I was doing it by myself, and I had these dreams and ambitions that were far greater than my programming skills and time.
I wanted to fix the CJ4, specifically the fuel consumption. There were some challenges with consuming way too much fuel right at the beginning.
Chris Burnett was doing a fuel flow fix, and also kind of the same thing I was doing with the FMS. So I sent him a message seeing if he wanted to get together and, be more efficient, because we were essentially working on the same thing.
Started with some lighting fixes, and then I made the first early enhancements to the G1000, adding things that people most seem to be missing.
Rob had either started or was participating in. He was doing some stuff on the G1000, and I sort of replied in the open, hey, would you be interested in collaborating on some enhancements, some of these avionics?
I initially started with layouts of the FMS to get it to the realistic counterpart.
For example, on the FMS, the colors are not exactly matching. So I thought it would be cool to just change that for now.
I reached out to an old friend of a friend, and that's Matt.
He said, hey, I want to mod some of these planes. The CJ4 kind of calls out to me. I think we could make it a little bit better.
I think Matt was a little hesitant at first. Is this just a crazy person wanting to use up my development skills?
And my first thought was, oh gosh, here's one of these guys who just wants kind of programming time for free. But it wasn't the case at all.
So I developed this thing called DevKit, which allows you to immediately refresh the avionics and see your changes.
And then Rob and Dominic got connected shortly thereafter, Dominic, of DevKit, web DevKit tools.
All we did for days basically was to take off and climb to flight level 450. Then we logged values, did some calculations, adjusted the curves.
I also, when I was flying the real aircraft, I recorded a lot of the audio, which I'm thankful for that. This is before I even knew about the flight simulator coming up and also the CJ4.
And so we just kept on building and building and building. Our custom flight plan system, which handles all the nav data. We got VNav going on the CJ4. We've got, all kinds of RNav features.
The first VNav proof of concept was the middle of October, and the sort of iterations we've been through on VNav as well.
Everyone was working on his own little project for some time, but after a few weeks, when it all came together and you went into the sim, and you were able to pilot the plane the way you imagined it from the beginning, that was such a great feeling.
I thought to myself, I may be the first person, and this may be the first time someone's flown a fully automated, constraint-limited arrival in FS 2020.
And we started pushing out these updates. I really saw the dedication, skills, and motivation with the team.
It's kind of a once-in-a-million scenario where all these people show up at the same time and space and create this thing that's really cool, that people really like.
I couldn't be more proud of what we've done and what the group has done.
It's just been an opportunity that you cannot possibly replicate if you try it again.
I've been in the tech and fintech space pretty much my entire career.
So I started flying in college. 0 hours, I started and got all my ratings up to commercial certificate.
I spent almost 25 years now in technology. First as a Unix sysadmin, but most recently I've been focused on cloud architecture and data engineering.
My focus the past decade has been building platforms. And so when '//Yorg came to us and said, you got to talk to us, and said there might be an opportunity to help build the platform, there was just no way I could say no to that possibility.
I think we're in a really unique place, going from being a community mod group to actually making core contributions to the sim itself.
The platform is such an open book.
Enabling more accurate aircraft, enabling more accurate panels and instrumentation, and enabling more people to bring more content into the simulator.
And to build that road for folks who want to come on board and create cool things using this flexible environment and the rapid iteration that we have now.
It's the little fine details that really make the difference that I hope we can provide those in the future.
There's a whole untapped new generation of flight sim developers out there that we can really reach just by making the platform that much more accessible and easy to use. But there's a lot of room for growth. How we can build the platform into being something even bigger and better and greater, and how we can really contribute amongst all the great partners that Microsoft already has to making the simulator the best possible simulation platform that exists anywhere. And the future is just unlimited. And so I think it's going to be really cool to see what we all come up with in the future, and I can't say how excited I am about it.